Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back into Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network on a beautiful Friday afternoon here in the Palmetto State. Good to have you with us. Hope you've had a great day. We wrap up a very interesting week of Sports Talk, interesting week of sports here in the state of South Carolina. Somehow we made it through the week with no super regionals to get ready for. Maybe next year. We'll see. Only time will tell. 800-956-7266 is our number for those of you who've not been able to get through in the last couple of days to talk about the big story of the week, the firing of Jack Leggett. You can get through to us tonight, 800-956-7266. Of course, our email is talkback@sportstalks.com, and on Twitter, it's @SportsTalkSC. Jack Leggett did issue a statement today. I don't think he's done any interviews of any sort with the media since yesterday, since the firing. But he did issue a statement today. We'll read that coming up in just a moment. We've reached out to him, of course, and he has responded about coming on the program at some point in time. So hopefully we'll get that done in the not-too-distant future. It's just going to take him some time, guys, to let this sort of sink in. I mean, for the first time in his adult life, because he's been coaching baseball for so long, most of his adult life, he's a man without a baseball job. And that's got to be hard to take right now.
Yeah, in some places. But then again, sometimes you think, with his family, is probably thinking, hey, Jack, it's time to exhale. Get excited about the next challenge because he will find the next challenge.
Do you think? We were just talking. I mean, he's what, 61 years old?
That's young now. That 61 is about 40 years ago. That would have been today.
Look, I think it's young. You think it's young, but young athletic directors might not think it's so young.
And I know Steve Spurrier thinks it's young.
Yeah.
Right. He turns. Yeah. I thought this before I'll go down saying I think Jack Leggett had a few more runs in him at Clemson if they would have hung in there. That the Tigers another postseason run, another trip to the Super Regionals, maybe another trip to Omaha, that he didn't forget what he was doing and maybe was just starting to get some traction again that you were seeing there towards the end of the year. And maybe he can go somewhere else and put in another 5-8 years somewhere, 10 years even, and get another program going. He's a first-class guy. He runs a first-class program and has put out first-class talent year after year after year. I'm sure I just couldn't imagine again, in that statement when he talked about a quarter of a century of his life spent essentially at Clemson. And that's a lot. He invested a lot of that program.
All right. We'll talk more about it. 800-956-7266. Of course, we do have the first day of the Super Regionals ongoing. We'll update the scoreboard for you. We've got qualifying ongoing at Pocono. We've got round 2 of the Memorial to update you on. And anything else that you want to talk about? We've got a run for the Triple Crown tomorrow afternoon. What do you think?
Pharaoh Cooper's running in that.
American Pharaoh.
Oh, American
Can he
Pharaoh.
do it? Back in a moment. And the phone number, 800-956-7266. Lines are open on this Friday afternoon. If you'd like to join us on the program tonight, 800-956-7266 is how you can reach us. Also, email talkback@sportstalksc.com. We've got some email we will get to. And, of course, on Talk SC, we will check out the Twitter timeline as well. Let's update a couple of things. First of all, in the Super Regionals, game going on right now. It's in Fayetteville, even though Missouri State is the national seed, but they couldn't host the Super Regional. It's Arkansas all over Missouri State in the top of the sixth, 6-1. After 6 innings, Maryland is leading Virginia 2-0. Maryland, which won the regional in Columbia last year, then lost in the Super Regionals, is trying to get to the College World Series. This was a program not too many years ago that I remember when Clemson would go up there and play, there might be 15 people in the stands. I mean, that's no exaggeration. Nobody cared, had no support, had a lousy team. And this coach that they have, we were looking his name up a little while ago.
Still haven't figured out exactly how to pronounce it.
Pretty good coach. Pretty good coach.
Yeah, he's only been there 3 years, and they've gotten better every year. I think they had 25 wins year one, a little over 30, and then 44 this year.
Of course, he's coaching on the fly because when he got there, they told him, hey, you're going to coach in one of the best conferences in the country, ACC. And then suddenly, next year, he looks up, by the way, we're going to the Big Ten.
Yeah. Or it's a little easier, baseball-wise. Miami beat Miami beat VCU this afternoon 3-2 in the first game of their regional. Miami scored 3 runs in the second. VCU scored a run in the third, a run in the sixth, but Miami was able to shut them down the rest of the way. 3-4-1 for Miami, 2-6-3 for VCU. Maybe the Rams feeling a bit of that super regional pressure, having never been there before. I don't believe they've been in a super regional in the past. And so Miami gets the win, the first win of that super regional, take a 1-0 lead. And coming up tonight, there's still one more game to go, the first day of the super regionals, and that will be Florida State and Florida. That should be at Donnybrook over in that's in Tallahassee, isn't it? Or is it in Gainesville? It's in Tallahassee. Okay. Coming up tomorrow, we'll have the beginning of 4 other super regionals. It'll be Cal State Fullerton at Louisville. It'll be Lafayette at LSU, Texas A&M at TCU, and Vanderbilt at Illinois. That's the complete field here for the super regionals.
I'm looking at this setting. It looks like they're in Gainesville. That's what it looks like tonight.
Now, who was the national seed? I don't recall. Do you remember the national seed off the top of your head?
I think both were national seeds.
I believe that one's in Gainesville.
Yeah, it's in Gainesville. Both are national seeds.
Okay.
So.
Well, that would answer that then. All right. What else to tell you about? A note from Gamecock Central, a basketball recruiting note. South Carolina's got an official visit on campus today. Raymond Doby. I'm assuming this is an official visit. He's a former DePaul signee. He's a guard, and he signed with DePaul in 2014, then went to a prep school, and then re-signed with DePaul, then got his release in April, and he is in Columbia reportedly on an unofficial visit. So we'll tell you more about that as it comes out. Today, USC Board of Trustees had a meeting, and Ray Tanner went before them to report on their favorite subject. Money. And he said that, according to a story by Josh Kendall of the State, he says the athletic department is planning to bring in more than $100 million in the 2015-16 fiscal year. And he said that he expects to bring in $106 billion in the coming year. He said the Gamecocks' projected revenue for this current fiscal year that's coming to an end was $94 million, and now the school expects to make $101.7 million, largely due the increases to the SEC network. The network added $7.5 million to the conference's distribution to each school this year. Total SEC payout to each school was more than $31 million. And Tanner told the trustees that he expects the network to continue to grow. He said how much they'll have to wait and see. The increased TV money will make the upcoming year the first that conference distribution outpaced ticket sales in USC's budget numbers. The Gamecocks expect to bring in $22 million in ticket revenue this year, $18.5 million coming from football. Third largest source of revenue is the Gamecock Club. That'll generate about $14 million. Gamecocks are expecting expenditures for the coming year at about $89 million, leaving $16 million to go to transfers such as scholarship payments and $770,000 to go into the Athletics Reserve Fund. South Carolina's athletic department has almost $155 million in debt. Expects to pay more than $10 million toward that debt this year. The state of South Carolina has a $200 million debt limit. A couple of other notes to come out of the meeting. Tanner said that USC and North Carolina have each been guaranteed $3.2 million payout for their game in the Belk College kickoff, which is more than the school clears for an average home game. So you guys complaining about your ticket prices, well, the money's going back by and large to the respective schools. And Tanner said, quote, "That's a great day for us." $3.2 million payout for a regular season game.
Suck them dry.
Cha-ching.
Take every last dime.
What was that siphon?
Shake them when they're leaving the stadium. Just literally shake them down.
Now here's would be the answer of the question. We know what the ticket prices are. And Tanner said, quote, "If you get asked the same thing I get asked, we did not have anything to do with the ticket prices for that game."
There you go.
But we do cash the checks based on the ticket prices of that game.
He indicated the school will have more input into the ticket prices if it plays another game in Charlotte, because he says that is an expensive ticket.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. The question is, because is the ticket expensive because you're using a pro stadium, or is it expensive because the people who manage the stadium don't want you there and they want to retard you from making back? I don't know.
Sense. I mean, they want you to be there. It's expensive because apparently they had to promise the two schools. I mean, they're going to pay over $6 million from television and tickets. They come from television and ticket sales.
They can take it from
that's
Cam
a lot of
Newton.
clam.
They can take it from Cam Newton.
Also, Tanner said the Gamecocks will pay Central Florida $300,000 to come to Columbus. Citadel $285,000 to play in Columbia November 21st. He said South Carolina will pay $1.25 million for guarantee games in all its sports, and he said the number will be higher next year.
Okay, now if they'd have had Navy, that'd have been double, because they didn't have to pay Navy $1 million.
Navy was $1 million guarantee. Yeah. Let's see if I got time for. We'll give you Jack Leggett's statement here coming up after the break. I don't have time to read the whole thing. It looks like it's about 90 seconds in length, so we'll get to that after the break. South Carolina men's golf team finished number 7 in the final golf stat rankings of the season. The Gamecocks only fell one spot after finishing 13th in the NCAA championship earlier this week. Illinois finished number 1. How can that be? Didn't LSU win the national championship? Mm-hmm. I mean, shouldn't the team that won the championship be number 1?
You would think so.
Mm-hmm. Probably more Big Ten voters on that. What is that, a committee?
That's just weird. In fact, LSU finished 5th in the poll, but they won the national championship.
Interesting.
Texas was 2nd, Florida State was 3rd, and Vanderbilt was 4th. And like we said, South Carolina finished at
number 7.
Number 7. Yeah, good finish for the Gamecocks there. Back in a moment. right, Jack Leggett has not talked directly to the media since the firing yesterday, but this afternoon he did issue his first words via a statement. He wrote the following: I would like to thank all of my present and former student athletes whom I've had the privilege to coach over the past 24 years at Clemson, as well as the 14 years prior. I am grateful for their efforts both on and off the field and in the classroom. I'm extremely proud to have been their coach and teacher and of all our accomplishments together. I also want to thank all of my present and former assistant coaches who have worked so hard and have been so loyal. Many of them have gone on to do great things. I appreciate very much our hardworking and helpful support staff who have been instrumental in helping make our program so respected. It has been a great pleasure to work alongside so many outstanding coaches and great people who have made a lasting impact on myself as well as Clemson. I truly have met some of the greatest people in my life during my time here as leader of this program. Thank you to all of the loyal and positive fans for your undying love of the Clemson baseball program. Your enthusiasm and support will never be forgotten. For close to a quarter of a century, I put my heart and soul into this baseball program, and I wish nothing but continued success to the players, coaches, and Clemson baseball. I will always cherish my time spent here at Clemson. Sincerely, Jack Leggett, number 7. All right, there you go. The statement from Jack Leggett from this afternoon. You know, it sounds to me like, and I can't believe that he's really thinking this way, but it sounds to me like he's thinking the end of his career, period.
Riding off in the sunset.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. But
That sounds like, nah, but wait. When his energies are renewed, he'll want to get back out there.
We put in a request to Dan Radakovich to come on the show tonight. He did respond and said couldn't do it tonight, but he would join us after the search is complete. And I think sometime next week we expect to have assistant coach, interim coach Bradley
LeCroy.
Bradley LeCroy, thank you. Bradley LeCroy on the show to talk about holding things together here during the interim period. The Clemson Insider today had a little update, and they mentioned the name Dave Perno from Georgia as someone that
I didn't mention that last night, remember?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a great resume. I'm surprised that he hasn't had a sniff. What he did at Georgia was pretty remarkable. 3 trips to Omaha. I don't know.
But it tailed off towards the end.
Tailed off a little bit. People better get used to the fact that really good coaches, they're going to have quote-unquote tail-off seasons where it takes a while to get some guys up. Some guys don't develop. It's a very inexact science with baseball. Why do you think the Major League Draft? Look how many rounds they go in the Major League Draft. Look how many guys play minor league ball that never make it up to the big leagues. It's very difficult. Or one of your ace pitchers goes on the DL for the whole season. That you don't have the kind of depth. You can't just call up a minor league guy the way they can.
And that's what happened to Jack Leggett. When he went in that bullpen, it was gasoline sometimes.
All right, we'll hit a break. Kurt Busch has won the poll at Pocono. We'll give you the leaders after the break. All right, we're back on Sports Talk. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Arkansas now leading Missouri State 10-3. They play the top of the seventh. They're playing in Fayetteville, but Arkansas is the visiting team. Missouri State shares a professional ballpark in, I guess, at Springfield, where Missouri State is located. And the professional team had first dibs on the ballpark, and it wasn't available for Super Regionals. Thus, even though they are the national seed and would have been the home team for the Super Regional, they had to go to Arkansas, and Arkansas gets the benefit of playing in front of its very rowdy and large home crowd and is up 10-3 at this point. And we mentioned earlier, Maryland beat Virginia 3-0. Miami beat VCU 3-2. Florida State and Florida in Gainesville still to come. Just wrapped up at Pocono, and it's Kurt Busch winning his 19th pole in his Sprint Cup career, lap of 177.599. Carl Edwards was second, 177.550, followed by Martin Truex Jr., Jeff Gordon, and Kevin Harvick. We'll have more on NASCAR coming up from Monty Dutton in our next hour, the full Monty on NASCAR. Get his unique take on things happening around the NASCAR scene. Quite a game last night, the NBA Finals, overtime. And, boy, I tell you, Cleveland had a chance to win that thing at the very end. Did not get a good shot from LeBron, not a good – after so much success of LeBron going one-on-one and getting anything he wanted inside of 10, 12 feet all night long and having a big night, some reason they settled for a long three-point attempt that he arched up there. They very nearly scored on the second shot as well. But anyway, they go into overtime and don't score. Basically, they were shut out in overtime. They got a layup from LeBron there in the last seconds that was uncontested. Otherwise, they were shut out in the overtime. The news, not good today for Kyrie Irving. He's out for the rest of the playoffs. He has
4 months.
Yeah, he's got a broken kneecap.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not good. Still, and you know, you're playing also. Well, I mean, the Cavaliers are really now playing extremely shorthanded. They're going to their strategy, obviously, last night was let LeBron do as much as he can, get on his shoulders and let him go as far as he could take them. And it was pretty obvious especially as they went into the overtime period, that they were wearing down. They were settling for very poor jump shots. And Golden State, with its philosophy of playing a lot of players and moving the basketball, was really turning the tide in their favor with their style of offense. Somehow the Cavaliers are going to have to find other people to step up and score points, despite the greatness of LeBron. And he is practically unstoppable. And I wonder if Golden State will adjust its defense. And no, you don't think they'll double team him to force the ball out of his hands and let him settle in the lane consistently?
I think their plan is LeBron is more dangerous when he gets more people involved. So instead of letting him be a distributor, play off of him a little bit and let him get all he can eat, not getting everybody else involved, and then they stand around and look, and that takes them out of the game. So they're literally taking.
Don't you think Cleveland is thinking the same thing? I mean, don't you think they saw that and they realized, hey, we got to get the ball into some other people's hands.
Yeah,
We've got to get some. You got to get J.R.
Yeah, J.R. Smith. Did you really want him to? I'd rather LeBron take a bad shot than J.R. Smith.
I don't know. When J.R. Smith gets it going, he can shoot you into a lead in a hurry.
And he can shoot you out of one. You saw him in overtime. You know, I mean, LeBron's got to take that shot, and you want your guy to go. You go down with your best, and he's the guy that needs to take that shot. And he's made shots like that. I mean, those shots, Michael Jordan. You know, at the end of a game, that's got to be your guy. So I don't have a problem with LeBron taking that shot. He wasn't going to get a layup unless somebody really blew it. So he got it. They got the rebound. Yeah, you're right. Shumpert almost knocked that one down. And then, you know, now that Irving's gone, they don't have anybody else that can really help LeBron out now.
Yeah, it was too bad Kyrie Irving got hurt last night because, you know, he is with LeBron, he gives them a double-edged sword there that they can attack you with, and then you have your helpers that can contribute a little bit, but that was tough to watch because he's been through a lot of injuries. He is a great player, and he too can carry a team. When LeBron wants to give the ball up and share the load, he too can carry a team.
Well, see, the key point is, as I said before, even when the playoffs started, the healthiest team is going to win, because we saw players just falling like flies in all the series. And Golden State, for whatever reason, other than that concussion to Klay Thompson and almost concussion by Steph Curry, they've been absolutely healthy. And they have so many weapons. Remember, they took Steph Curry's 3 away from him last night, literally. But everybody else was shooting it. And I think they practically have the best guy on the bench for them right now psychologically, because Steve Kerr played with Michael Jordan, and he saw how Michael got everybody else involved and how hard Michael worked when everybody else wasn't scoring. So he's figured it out. Let him have all he can eat, but don't let everybody else get involved. We can win this thing.
Well, things certainly have changed with the injury to Irving, and of course they're already without Love, and they've had some other significant injuries throughout the year. Don't they have is Miller on that team?
Well, Miller's been on one leg when he was in Miami. I mean, he's working on fumes. But again, the astute general managers all through the NBA knew that they'd have to go through LeBron. So if you notice the teams that try to beat LeBron, they're getting athletes 3 and 4 deep that can guard him, because you can't stop him. You have to mentally wear him out by thinking, who's guarding me this time up the floor.
But I didn't see. I hear what you're saying, but I mean, nobody stopped him last night.
But that's the point.
Until he took that last shot.
Yeah, but here's the point.
He made, what were his numbers last night?
44, 8, and 6.
No, but I mean, what was his shooting percentage last night? It was pretty high.
But the idea is not to stop him. The idea is to make him think where he's going to score from, depending on who's guarding him. If you have one man to guard him, he knows the weakness. Iguodala, when he guarded him, he cut him off a few times. LeBron said, well, I can't do this with him. Then the next time down, his Green guarding him, and he said, well, wait a minute, what does he do? So you make him mentally think every time down, so when it gets down to crunch time, he's just weary. I mean, he's mentally weary, even though he's scoring a bunch of points. So the guys know they can't stop him, but you shuttle players off him to make him think.
I get that. And they did that. They switched a lot of different guys on him. And you just wonder, you go back and look at the shot chart from overtime, and the Cavaliers got away from what they were doing. From 4 quarters, for whatever reason, started jacking up a lot of long threes, and it didn't fall for them. As I said, didn't score until LeBron made that meaningless layup at the very end. And Golden State continued to do what they do, which is move the basketball and get that next best look. And I thought Spate coming in off the bench was big for Golden State too. He gave them some good minutes, and you know they're not afraid to put their second unit out there and go extended minutes with a whole.
That's what I was going to say. They have a lot of guys that can score. Of course, they have the MVP. Then you have Thompson, and then Barnes has really found his role. The guy from the 76ers, Iguodala.
He played great. They got both of them, and then of course this year, for the first time, his first year he was injured a lot, but the guy from Vandy, Festus Ezeli, comes off the bench, and here's another big. They just come at you in waves, and Cleveland has to be standing there. Wait a minute, another shift is coming in. It's almost like looking at hockey. Here comes another line shift coming in.
Yeah,
and that's what they do.
And we'll see what the Cavaliers can do. The good thing for them is they've got a couple of extra days here to figure it out. They don't play again until Sunday, but losing Kyrie Irving certainly a big blow to them. A team that's already kind of fit in terms of quality numbers.
Dova roll into somebody's knees.
Tough. We'll be right back. Our Braves report coming up. Okay, it's time for our Braves Report tonight with Mike Morgan, brought to you by Play It Again Sports off Bower Parkway in Columbia, where you pay less for more. By Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals. And by Mattress by Appointment, real simple, you call and save 50 to 80% on premium mattress sets, 803-530-8549. We welcome Mike into the program. Braves are back at home now after that road trip. They'll be taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates in what should be a very entertaining weekend series, Mike. Pirates are very good. Braves can be good at certain times, so it could be a pretty exciting weekend.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think Pittsburgh, first of all, one of the things you learn when you really cover a major league team and are involved in any way, shape, or form, or even if you just go to the ballpark as a fan a bunch, you get tired of seeing the same teams in the same division. I don't know how you feel about that. Maybe you'd want to see the Yankees, Red Sox 50 times a year.
I would.
ESPN does.
I would. Absolutely. I want to see the Yankees in the World Series every year. Now, is that asking too much?
Yes.
Well, those are two different things, of course. Seeing them in the World Series versus playing the Red Sox 50 times a year.
Well, I want to see them beat the Red Sox on their way to the World Series.
I got you. Yeah. I got you. Well, I can speak just for me on this one. I don't need to see Atlanta play the Miami Marlins 19 times in a given season. It's a little much for me. So it's nice to have some fresh blood. I think the scheduling in Major League Baseball is probably the worst in the three major sports, and it's nice to see teams from different divisions because you don't see them that often. It's very rare. So Pittsburgh brings an exciting bunch. They've been successful of late. They have one of the most exciting players in the game, and Andrew McCutchen. So that's always exciting. Also, the fact that the Pirates right now, they sit 5 games above 500 at 29 and 24. The Braves, of course, are a game under at 26 and 27. But really, when you start looking at standings and everything else, which now that we're in June, I guess we can start doing, the Braves are only 3 games out of a wild card spot, believe it or not. And one of the teams that could potentially be battling for one of those spots a couple of months from now would be Pittsburgh. If you look at the numbers, Pittsburgh offensively, very similar to Atlanta. Starting pitching, a little bit better, not much. The biggest difference, of course, is the bullpen, where the Pirates have one of the best in the bigs, I think the 5th best mark at 2.67, and the Braves are hovering just under 5, which is the worst in the National League by far. So the bullpen continues to be the big topic around here, but nobody seems to know how to fix it.
As far as the Braves are concerned, Mike, when you look at them and you talked about they're out of the wild card, obviously when they made these trades of veteran players, they had a plan in place talking about 2017 when they get into the new stadium. If the Mets and Nationals continue to act like they don't want the division and it's close and it's getting down to crunch time, do the Braves maybe jump part of this rebuilding thing and entice to make a trade to get maybe another reliever, or you think they're going to stay the course?
Oh, I wouldn't now rule it. I think it's important to note this is not like a Philadelphia 76ers just tank for the sake of getting a lottery pick like you see in the NBA. I think some people have mistaken the whole stadium deal for, well, these 2 seasons really mean nothing for Atlanta, and they just don't care about how many games they win. That's really not the case at all. To your point, they'd love nothing more than to make a trade that helps the bullpen. The problem is they don't have a lot to offer. This is not – they have improved the farm system, but it is hardly loaded. They don't have a high-priced player that they just want to unload for good young talent, which might include a couple of bullpen arms. I just don't know if they're very trade accessible right now. And so from that standpoint, the only solution to the bullpen might be have your starters go deeper into games. Part of the problem is, depending on how you look at it, it's the bullpen's problem, yes. The reason the bullpen starters haven't gone very deep in games. So chicken or the egg, they both need to be better.
What's the pitching matchup tonight?
You got our boy with 2 last names, Williams Perez, going on the mound. And, he's not exactly a household name, but he has pitched well. He's got an ERA under 3. He's looked good thus far. We'll see if, as time moves along, if this is a guy worth getting exciting over or just a pleasant story for the time being. Morton's going for Pittsburgh. Good, not great. But I think Perez has a lot of people curious to see right now. He's caught our attention. Now we'll see if he can follow through.
All right, Mike, we thank you very much. Have yourself a great weekend enjoying the baseball and the good weather, we hope, in Atlanta. We'll catch you on Monday night. Mike Morgan with our Braves report. Meantime, Arkansas continues to roll it up on Missouri State. It's now 12-3 Razorbacks leading as they play in the seventh inning. How many SEC teams are going to make it to Omaha? Certainly, you got to like Arkansas. You got to like LSU's chances. And who knows about Florida State? Florida at home. Have to kind of give them the edge. All right, let's give you the recruiting report here on this Friday night. You know, we've always got recruiting for you. Good way to go into the weekend with some juicy, tasty recruiting news. Ain't that right, K-Mac?
I love juicy. I love tasty.
You love it in volume, and that's what we're going to give you here on Sports Talk. A little taste of recruiting news going into the weekend. Defensive back Chris Smith of South Point is beginning his summer camp stops. In fact, today he was going to Wake Forest, then Duke on Sunday. Plans to be at USC Showcase Camp on the 13th, as well as camps at North Carolina and East Carolina. His offers include USC, Old Dominion, Mercer, Charlotte, Furman, Coastal, Campbell, Gardner-Webb, Miami of Ohio, Air Force, Eastern Michigan, James Madison, SC State. USC's been his favorite. The possibility does exist. He says they're still recruiting him hard. The commitment will depend on just how he feels at the camp. This will be his first time visiting USC as a recruit. Gamecocks like him as a cornerback. USC has offered defensive end Khalid Kareem, 6'4", 260, Farmington Hills, Michigan. And he is going to visit around the 20th while he's on vacation in the Beaufort area. He's going to announce his college decision June 24th. He said he does have interest in the Gamecocks. He's not narrowed his list from his 40 offers, but he likes how USC's produced, as he called it, great defensive ends. They usually get drafted high in the first round or second round. Gamecock defensive line coach Deke Adams has been the front man for the Gamecocks with Kareem. The two talked on Wednesday. This will be his first visit to USC. He's been to Alabama, Tennessee, Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois, Northwestern, and others. He says he does not have a favorite. Last season, 85 tackles with 18 sacks. USC offensive line target Josh Ball of Fredericksburg, Virginia, committed to Florida State this afternoon. Clemson commitment, defensive end Rashawn Smith, landed an offer from Oregon, which on Twitter he called his dream school. Defensive end Xavier Kelly of Wichita was offered by Florida target. Clemson is one of the favorites for 2017 defensive back Jalen Askew of Douglasville, Georgia. The other schools on his list in no order: Alabama, Florida State, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Oregon, Stanford, and Florida. And he says he's still open for others. And again, in basketball, per Gamecock Central, former DePaul signee 6'7" Raymond Doby visiting USC through the weekend. Imagine it's an official visit. He actually signed with DePaul in 2014, decided not to go, reclassified, went to a prep school in Wisconsin this year, signed again with DePaul, and then after the coaching change, he got out of that letter of intent and has been looking around, and South Carolina's gotten him in for a visit. So we'll see how that turns out over the weekend. All right, top of the hour break, and we'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We're back in Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, the professor, Tom Hayes, all with you tonight. Update the baseball super regionals. Virginia has gone on top of Maryland now, 5-3. Bottom of the eighth, Maryland is the home team. They're playing in Charlottesville. 5-3, Virginia is leading Maryland. 5-10-1 for the Cavs, 3-4-1 for Maryland. Arkansas all over Missouri State. And 12-3, they're in the top of the eighth inning. Miami of Florida beat VCU earlier, 3-2. And coming up, last game of the day, it's Florida State against Florida. Let's jump to the phone lines and welcome in Don in Monetta. And welcome into Sports Talk. Don, how you doing?
Phil, I am great. I've been longing for this call for a while. You probably need to get a new intern because he didn't know where Monetta was, and after saying Monetta 3 times, I said, well, Phil knows, so just put him on, okay?
It's right down the road.
He knows where
Ridge
Ridge Spring. He knows where Ridge Spring is. And the Ridge Spring Monetta Vikings are a solid program.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's the Ridge Trojans.
Oh, well, there you go.
See, that's what happens when you try to be smart, K-Mac.
I knew actually
Mr.
Pillion used to
Sportscaster
play
of the
Ridge
year.
Spring too. I've been to Ridge Spring. I played baseball and basketball there,
Mm-hmm.
but I was close though. There's really not that much of a difference between a Viking and a Trojan. They're both putting on the
That's
helmets
true.
and being ridiculous.
True.
What's on your mind, sir?
Well, before I get to my real deal, I had a trifecta today. I talked to David Glenn on Sports Talk in Raleigh when I was leaving up there. I was in a traffic jam on 20. I talked to Heath Klein, and now I'm talking to a premier sports talk person of all time, in my opinion. That would be Phil Kornbluth and his team. So this is just a great day for me. Then hearing of Mike Morgan, and then when you did the recruiting report, my hair standing up on my neck while I was driving. So
Goosebumps with the recruiting report.
Boy, you've had a
Pulled down his leg.
Hey, take the rest of the week off.
well,
Smoke a cigarette.
when I called a few months ago, I missed Kevin because he wasn't there, and I wanted to give him a belated congratulations on Sportscaster of the Year. We may have already voted on a new one since then, but I want to congratulate Kevin on that award.
No, he's
He
still the
received.
reigning. He's still the reigning champion. In fact, he gets the award on Monday night.
Well, good.
So they
I
still
am
have a few
glad.
days to change their mind.
I'd like to think that the banner I've given him over the last few years has actually helped in that matter. But let me get to my crux. Are you still there?
Yeah. We're going to have to hold you over. I'll tell you what. Since you're going to go to a new thought, just hang on for a second, and we'll come back to you. And we'll take more phone calls here on Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. Back in a moment. It's now 16-3. Arkansas over Missouri State. Enough, Pig Suey. Enough. Oh, here comes another run going to score. Probably. Here's the throw to the plate. It's going to be cut off. Well, they held him at third base. I think I'd be a hell of a baseball play-by-play
ESPN
announcer.
Gestapo's about to call.
Bring him on. I'm lawyered up. Lawyered up and ready for him. Bring him on. Back to Don in Minetta. Yeah, you know what? I could say he flew out last time up as well as anybody.
Wow.
Incorrectly. Don in Minetta.
All right, Phil, just one more thing. Last year, I started writing a book. It was called 60 Years of Jackleg, and it just so happened I started it close to Mr. Leggett's 60th birthday. I think it's an interesting story about an ice cream addict atheist who has never been beaten in a baseball game. He's the only coach in history that's never actually lost a game. He's always beaten himself. So I'm probably going to ask one of y'all when I finish to write the foreword for it, because y'all all know him very well. And if Ray was still around, I wish they'd keep Jack there, because Ray always owned Jack. But I love your show, Phil. Do you have an app by any chance?
Do I have an app?
Does your show have an app?
No, it doesn't. Actually, that it could be in the pipeline.
It's
Okay.
being worked on by
the corporate.
It's in the
sausage.
development stage. Yeah.
Are you being serious or are you being sarcastic?
No, there is.
Yeah.
It's
Our IT
been
people
discussed.
are looking at it. Yeah. Hasn't happened yet, but they were looking at it.
Because when I was talking 107.5 in the traffic, enjoyed the show. Kevin, congratulations again. You're well deserving of that honor.
Well, now
Y'all have
hang
a
on,
good night.
hang
Thank
on. You still with us?
I'm
Don?
still with you.
So, back to your comments on Jack. Are you saying that are you a Gamecock fan or a Tiger fan?
But you didn't.
You
guess
know
when
I'm
he
a
called-
Gamecock fan.
You couldn't pick that up. In his
I want
comments?
to know for sure, K-Mac. I don't want to conclude
When he
anything.
called him an ice cream eating atheist that is never.
Well, he could be a Clemson fan that doesn't like Jack Leggett for some reason.
well,
That's
that's true.
There's a few of those out there. You haven't noticed. All right, so that explains it then. So you're a Gamecock fan, and you had your hard feelings towards Jack because he's a Tigers coach. Okay, I got you.
All right.
So,
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you
Enjoy
very
your
much.
show.
Good hearing from you. All right,
Good,
man.
Good luck to those Rich Spring
appreciate-
Minetta
Appreciate all your
Vikings.
phone calls to all the radio
How do you
sports talk
figure that
shows
Jack
in
is
America
atheist?
today.
I
Back to the phones we go.
I'll tell you, better watch
And
how
it's
you
Billy
judge.
in Florence with us next, listening to us on 95.3 Miller Incorporated down there in Florence. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Phil. I've been listening to you. Headed to the beach after my son's football camp tomorrow. Heading to the in-laws beach house in Surfside.
No, you lucky dog. What camp's he going to?
Lawrence Timmons down here.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Yeah, he's going to Lawrence Timmons tomorrow. But Phil, to the game.
What's your son rated? Has he gotten any offers yet? Anybody offer him? What's he ranked? What does 24/7 Sports
How many
have him
stars
rated?
does he have?
Yeah, how many stars?
He's 9 years old. And
Yeah,
does
so
7
what's
on
your-
7. So
What's your pro?
I'd rate him. I'm hard on him. I'd rate him as a 2-star.
2-star.
And I see where you're going with it. But hey, Phil, I'm gonna jump around very quickly for you. First of all, I want to thank Coach Leggett and somebody that gives money and is a diehard Clemson fan. I want to thank Coach Leggett. He's a Hall of Famer. What he's done. Remember, Texas came with a bag full of money, and he's not hurting. He wasn't hurting with his salary at Tiger Town.
Do you agree with the decision?
Texas A&M, I believe, was a school, or was it Texas Tech? It wasn't Texas. The Longhorns never ran off Augie Garrido.
Do you agree with the decision?
I do, Phil. I really do. I think it's time to move on. I just think there's a connection issue here, and I just think a lot of times I just kind of compare it to Coach Bowden at Florida State. It's just time to move on. He did it. He did what he did. A shame we didn't win a national championship because there were some great teams. When I go back to the Kyle Parker, Khalil Green teams, some of those teams back there, and there were some really, really good Clemson teams, and of course the one that got beat by South Carolina back-to-back, and they were one game away from the national championship. I'm more or less looking that way. But feel like, I can't call you without talking about football. Athlon, Lindy's, etc., had put their magazines on the shelf. And I'm looking through, and the Coastal Division, I'll start with that. And like I said, I'll summarize this very quickly for you because I know you got more calls to get to or so forth. But North Carolina, I think that I'm not really sold on Georgia Tech. I know Justin Thomas in a triple option offense that can really throw the ball is very, very dangerous. And they beat Mississippi State brains out. They beat Clemson. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to play the if game. If Deshaun Watson is water under the bridge, went down, Clemson would have won by 2 touchdowns. I'm sorry. People can, it's just the way Coach out through 2 picks. So anyway, my story is with Coach Venables is contained is the word I'm going to use, that Georgia Tech defense that he's been D coordinator at Clemson. He is more or less done a heck of a lot better job than what Kevin Steele did with the and I respect Coach Steele a lot when he was at Clemson. But real quick, Phil, I look over in the Atlantic, see Florida State and Clemson, and we all know through the fall camp hitting, there's going to be some injuries, and most of them are vital through the and I'm just looking at Clemson having one. I don't wish injury on nobody. If somebody does, they've got issues upstairs, not on anybody. But Phil, I think if Clemson, and I think they can dodge that Louisville team Thursday night. Everybody speculates that the 2016 season for the Tigers is the year. And I know I've heard you bring this up. I'm going to reiterate. I think the Tigers, I really do. I think they could run the table. I don't think Bobby Petrino had Charlie Strong's, a lot of his players. There's 2 tackles that's gone. Lorenzo Malden's gone. The safety's gone. And I just think good luck.
Receiver's gone.
I do. Devontae Parker. Good luck stopping Clemson's offense is all I'll say. And I think that Clemson could find their way to running the table. And it's talking season, man. And I'm just
I'm like you. I made that comment a few weeks ago in early analysis coming out of the spring. But I've looked a little deeper at the defense, and I'm a little concerned, to be honest with you. I've looked at some of the names and some of the players and some of the experience, and I've thought about it. And relate to South Carolina last year, and I made the mistake. A lot of people made the mistake of underselling the importance.
Yeah, but they out-recruited, Phil.
Well,
there's more talent on the defense. The front 11, the starting 11, I heard you say this, so I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
You said the front 11 you're comfortable with, but you don't know what 12, 13,
even the front 11, Kevin Dodd, okay? What you going to get out of Kevin Dodd? How good is Carlos Watkins going to be? How much of a drop-off is there going to be from Grady Jarrett to Carlos Watkins? DJ Reader.
How about DJ Reader? Man, he filled the gaps already.
Yeah, I know DJ Reader has done some good things, and Shaq Lawson's done some good things. Those 2 are proven commodities, but really half of your defensive front is pretty much unproven, and Watkins is coming off the car wreck that set him back. You've got Roderick Byers as a backup there to him, who he hasn't played a lick in his college career. He was a tight end, remember. They moved him over to tight end, trying to find a place to play him. Martin Akins backing up Kevin Dodd. I mean, that's not
How about Colin Farrell? How about Colin Farrell, the hottest talent out of Virginia?
Well, he's a true freshman. You're talking about a true freshman. Now, I can't incorporate these guys who haven't gone through a practice yet. Let's let them practice and see what happens. What about your linebackers?
I love Boulware, Goodson, Corey Rogers, and you've got probably a transition player.
But I mean, you're talking about going from Stephon Anthony and Tony Stewart. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a couple of pros, especially Anthony. You're talking about 2
they've lost their
linebackers.
most defensive start season when Danny Ford's first year. So to think that there's not going to be some kind of impact.
I'm trying to talk myself out of saying Clemson's going to run the table.
I reiterate that the most important guy they lost on that team is Grady Jarrett. He talked about how they contain Georgia Tech's offense. You contain Georgia Tech's offense by getting early penetration up the middle. Grady Jarrett was constantly, no matter who they played, because of his squat build, would go under or over people, and he'd always be in the backfield.
Yeah. I hear you. Thanks for the phone call. We'll be back with more in a moment. 18-3 now, Arkansas over Missouri State. I think we can safely say that one is over. And Virginia continues to lead Maryland 5-3. Up, that game has just gone final. So Virginia wins game one against Maryland 5-3. Just going back on the previous caller talking about Clemson. Yeah, I mean, very early, I was caught up in all the emotion and the shine of the offense and good players replacing the departed players on defense. But after looking a little more closely, especially on the defensive side, I do see some reasons for concern. And even on the offensive side, can Joe Gore hold up at offensive tackle? And how good will he be? Isaiah Battle has been up and down at left tackle. Now they're going to be boosted by the return of Jay Guillermo. He's going in for a second session of summer school. That will allow them to move Ryan Norton over to guard and have Guillermo at center.
It's about injuries. I mean, they have to stay healthy. I do think they can go on a run. I mean, if the ball bounces their way and they stay healthy, they have 4 freshmen, true freshmen that are going to be backing up, or redshirt freshmen that will be backing guys up on the offensive line. Experience is not going to be there.
Same on defense.
Yeah, that's the issue. And they had experience backing up experience on their defense last year.
They were
what
loaded.
Did that equal?
They were
number one defense in the country, one of the best that Clemson's ever had. And
Now,
they're going to have slippage there. But if number 4 can stay healthy and they can stay healthy up front on that defense, yes, Clemson can make a run. They can beat anybody on their schedule, no doubt about it.
All right, to Saluda, we go next. We welcome in Bulldog Bert. What station do you listen to for us, Bulldog Bert?
It's almost Bulldog arrest season. That's what I call summer. Bulldog
is that
arrest
right?
season.
Bulldog arrest season?
Yeah, so that'll be coming
You
up.
listen to us out of Johnston?
92.7 WKSX, and to the guy in Ridge Spring, Minetta, they have an app you can listen to Phil on that station.
That's true. Some of our stations do have apps. WKDK has an app,
Yeah,
our
Jimmy
Newberry
Coggins,
station.
he's
So
cutting edge.
we'll catch up with them one day. But, yeah, any Georgia players arrested today as far as you know, Bulldog Bert?
Well, we have a new guy in town, Grayson Lambert, and that's what I was going to call you guys about to see what your take is on him transferring from the University of Virginia to UGA.
Well, he's a big kid. I don't think he's particularly mobile from my my memory of him. I think he had a pretty good year throwing the football at Virginia. And I think it tells you something about the state of your quarterback situation here at the 11th hour. I mean, he's not an Everett Sullivan. Everett Golson. God, Corn, where are you tonight?
But
he's not an Everett Golson type of guy. What?
I was going
to chair.
I'm just laughing.
I was going to ask Bulldog Bert, the reason why Georgia's the one that proposed that rule, the transfer rule, if they had baggage, you essentially couldn't come in there. And I think Georgia did that just so other SEC teams stopped getting the guys that they cast off, like Nick Marshall.
He's going to look good with Marquavius Lewis wrapped around his back there in what is that, week number 3 or so in Athens?
Well, does he know how to hand the ball off?
The chubber.
That's true. That's all you got to do. Last season, 1,632 yards, 10 interceptions, 11 interceptions, 10 touchdowns. All right, we are back here on Sports Talk. It is time to talk NASCAR, the full Monty on NASCAR. We welcome in our good friend, Monty Dutton from MontyDutton.com, MontyDutton.com. Hey, one neat thing about your blog is I get your email alert when you update your blog. That's pretty cool. Does everybody get that who, I don't know, subscribes to your blog or goes to your blog?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of people.
thought that was just you?
Never mind.
That's good. It's a good alert that you've posted something new. I enjoyed your stuff earlier this week about last week's race. We're at Pocono now, and we had qualifying earlier today, and it was Kurt Busch, 19th pole win for him in his career, going out and winning the pole.
It was a sort of a failure of the format. 5 guys in the top 12 never made runs because Denny Hamlin spun out, and there were just a few, and they red flagged it, and there wasn't time to go around the track to have another lap. So 5 guys didn't make runs. I think that Kurt Busch is a person who's going to be a force to contend with. The interesting thing about this race that I don't know if everybody realizes the significance is I believe the fastest car up there belongs to Kevin Harvick. But Harvick was penalized this week, and the penalty was that he has to get the last pick of a pit road spot. So what that means is one of the interesting things about the race is going to be this will be a disadvantage, and it will probably cause Harvick to lose some positions during yellow flag pit stops. And as much as this is a pretty tough obstacle. And so he was penalized because his team had gotten written warnings about something they'd done 2 weeks in a row from NASCAR. This really sounds like something would happen to you in high school, you know, like on your 2 demerits or something like that, or it's going on your permanent record, you know. But I think that'll be an interesting factor in the race because Harvick really needs to. He's the most consistent guy. His car is in position to win every week. But in this format, it's a disquieting sign when you finish second 7 times. He's won twice, but Harvick he needs to close the deal on some races. It's going to be harder for him to do that Sunday.
Do we know why he was penalized?
It was something about the placement of the one. There were separate, I suppose, areas of emphasis. One of them was over the placement of the exhaust pipes. I can't remember the other one. I think it might have. But anyway, he got in post-race inspection. They sort of wrote him up 2 weeks in a row, and this is NASCAR came up with this sort of codified. They've often been criticized, as you well know, as everyone knows, for being inconsistent in their rulings, and so they came up with a specified area that tries to put parameters, just like sentencing in courts. And so this is one of the changes they've made.
All right, the rest of the top 10 behind Kurt Busch: Carl Edwards, Martin Truex Jr., Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, and Kyle Busch. Just looking at some of the numbers now, Denny Hamlin is ranked number 1 in the driver rating at this track. He'll be starting off 8th, and I guess you have to like his chances. He's had a lot of success at this track over the years in terms of high finishes.
Over time, Hamlin has proved adept at most every kind of track, but from the very beginning of his career, he's noteworthy for doing well on flat tracks that don't have much banking. He's never won Indy, but he's won quite a bit. His early victories, he's good at places like Indy, Pocono, New Hampshire, Phoenix. His first specialty before he got adept at other things was on tracks that were flat and don't have much banking. So yeah, but he's also the guy that spun out in qualifying today and made it sort of mess the whole format.
I think in Haas, the Stewart-Haas racing team, why do you think Busch is doing so well but the other teams are, well, I guess Harvick is doing well also. But why do you think Stewart and Patrick, and Patrick's had her moments, but I guess in particular Tony Stewart, why do you think he continues to struggle? Is it the result of his injuries and his time away? Is that what's holding him back?
Well, this is a long-time theory of mine that most people are in denial about. But the fact is that the older you get, the more important it is to stay active. I believe that you ward off the effects of your declining reflexes and with experience, and that you have to stay sharp. First, Tony Stewart missed the second part of the season with a broken leg, and then the following year he was involved and pulled out for a while and was involved in an incident in which another sprint car driver was killed. And I think that there really is a lot of trauma attached to that. I think that affected Tony deeply, but I think that one of the reasons he was so good is that he did stay active and ran a lot and did things that he loved. And I think there's something missing from him. And I think that when you've been inactive, when you're older, it takes a longer time to get it back, and you may never get it back. And I really hate to say this because I've always said that I love the fact that I enjoyed writing about racing a lot more because Tony Stewart was in it, because for all of his being erratic, he's an interesting, complicated person that I doubt a great deal. I wrote a book about him once. So, and the other thing about Tony is that I would never count him out completely, because during the time I covered racing, probably the most amazing thing that happened in the 20 years I was covering almost every race was Stewart's 2012 championship. His chase was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. And so I'd never count him out. And I think he's a lot of greatness in him, but I think he's having a really hard time on two fronts.
All right, sticking with Stewart-Haas, the announcement today that they'd signed Rodney Childers to a new contract with Kevin Harvick's team, certainly good news. I mean, they obviously work extremely well together. That's a great combination. You'd put it right up there with some of the best driver-crew chief combinations you have on the circuit.
That's absolutely true. I think that Childers is a guy for much of his career who didn't get the credit he might have gotten because, you know, he's sort of an old-fashioned crew chief. He's doesn't strike you as being, like there's so many guys who are, sort of stereotypical engineers, and Childers is a good old boy. And I think his talents weren't recognized as quickly, but without question, look at what Harvick's done since, and what the two of them have done since they came together. That's obviously one of the elite groups, and obviously the one that is at the top is Johnson and Canals.
So in our final 30 seconds, 40 seconds, what's the key to winning at this track? Because it's such a weird track, and what's the key component to a winning car?
I think that strategy is likely to be important, getting track position at the right time, getting four tires. And I think that there's probably going to be more action because the big talk, Pocono did a lot of work in the off season, and they've sort of messed up the second turn where the tunnel goes under it.
Got some bumps.
And it's got a bunch of bumps.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are having a hard time getting through there. So I expect that's always been the most treacherous part of the track. But I expect that there's going to be some accidents more than usual there.
All right. You think this is the week for Martin Truex Jr.? Got about 15 seconds.
Could be. I tend to think it's. I think when you knock on the door, but I think there's a reason for that too. I don't think that as good as they are and as good as they're running that they can't. I don't believe they can. I don't believe that they have the cohesion of the Hendrick and the Gibbs and the Stewart-Haas.
Thank you, Monty. As always, great stuff. The full Monty on NASCAR. You get more from Monty Dutton at his blog, montydutton.com. Back in a moment. All right, Arkansas has finished off Missouri State game one of their Super, 18-3 was the final. 18-4 was the final. And so Arkansas, Miami, and Virginia have all won. Right now, Florida State and Florida just underway in Gainesville. In the top of the first inning, they have no score. What kind of crowd they have in Gainesville? You know, they're pretty weak with their regional crowd, but I would imagine they are most full up for this one.
Kevin O'Sullivan's doing this game. He's not in Clemson right now.
I think
the baseball office.
I think he's coaching from Doug Kingsmore Stadium.
That's right.
From the new Players Lounge at Doug Kingsmore.
Well,
Stadium.
they got to pack this stadium for this one. I mean, because if Florida doesn't pack their stadium, Florida State people to take over. So I would imagine they'd have.
I would sure Florida has a.
I would think so.
House.
All right, back to the phones we go. 800-956. 800. I have not been drinking. I'm not Allen Iverson. 800-956. Practice. Your boy's getting blown up, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to be on the show next week.
For those who aren't paying attention, Kent Babb, who worked at the state newspaper, now works for the Washington Post, wrote a book on Allen Iverson. And remember the very famous press conference where he was this was after the season, and he was asked about coming in late for a practice. And he went on his rant about practice. We're talking practice, man. And so in the book, Kent writes that he was drunk at that point when he was having that news conference.
Which he got from
sources.
Larry, it wasn't identified sources too. Yeah. Like Larry Brown and the owner of the 76ers.
And today, Stephen C. Smith.
Stephen A.
Get that A in there.
Went off on a diatribe. He doesn't know Kent. Didn't name him. Didn't identify him by name. Just identified him as the writer. But argued that he knows Allen Iverson better than anybody in the world in sports.
And nobody's arguing that. The book wasn't about who knows Allen Iverson.
Well, and he's claiming that Allen Iverson was not drunk.
Because Allen Iverson told him he wasn't.
Yes.
And the point is, there's a lot of people that'll tell you something that's not true, that especially if that something makes them look bad.
Kim ever told you how much I like you.
Yeah. See, that prime example. Mm-hmm. I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you, Corn.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll have Ken on.
Yeah. Assuming that he hasn't been strung up by Stephen A. Smith between now and next week.
Z. Smith. All right, back to the phones we go. Mark in Aiken is with us next, listening to us on KSX down in the Aiken area. Mark, how are you? Welcome into Sports Talk.
Hey, Phil. Good evening. I got a question for you, gentlemen, a golf question. I was keeping up with a little bit of the Memorial Tournament today, watching Tiger in his game. And I know that right now it's not where he would like for it to be, obviously. But do you guys think that the lack of intimidation that that Rory and Jordan and Reed and all these other guys are bringing to the table, do you think it's affecting his game at all, or is it the back injuries? Because I just don't see an interest, and I may be wrong. I just don't see the interest level there. Obviously, he's not playing as many tournaments. This is his first tournament in several weeks, obviously, and then you've got the major in a couple of weeks. But there's something I'm just not seeing there. Do you think that what these guys are bringing to the table now is just maybe curb his interest a little bit? And I'll let you guys take it. Thank you.
No, I think his body is failing him.
I think he's not playing enough golf. I mean, you just can't. I don't care how great a golfer you are. If you don't play competition golf on a regular basis, I just don't see how you can show up for a major after maybe playing a rounds or events and be great when you're facing these other guys who are really great golfers, maybe not great, but really good golfers, and then some great golfers who are playing regular golf. I mean, look at Rory. He played tournaments in the States, and he went over and he played a couple of tournaments in Europe. He played the Irish Open. Didn't play well in the Irish Open. I think he missed the cut, but he's playing a lot of golf. And that that sharpens your game and keeps you on top of your game. Now, I know that Tiger has had the injuries, but I think
that's it.
He's healthy enough to play more golf.
Well,
he has not played.
Oh, you know Tiger's body better than Tiger knows his body?
I think I do.
Maybe you should call him.
Maybe
you should be his new swing coach.
Every inch of his body. And
I
think
he needs to bring back.
Come on, K-Mac. He's not playing enough.
I don't think he can. That's why we're trying to say. I don't think he can.
He can play.
don't know.
I mean,
what
if he
can
can
do.
practice, he can play.
I think if there was,
He was practicing earlier this week at the U.S. Open.
but
site.
if you've thought of this, I've got to think Tiger Woods would say, "Yeah, I need to play more." Why do you think he's not playing more? You said he can't play more, so you think he just rather?
Well,
I don't think Tiger is interested in playing much golf other than the Masters. I think playing the casual, everyday, run-of-the-mill tournament doesn't interest him anymore.
Yeah, I don't think it ever has.
No, I think it did early in his career when he wanted to win a lot of tournaments. Now I think he only wants to win majors and play in Jack's and Arnie's tournament. All right, speaking of the Memorial, David Lingmerth is your leader, 12 under par after 65. Jason Duffner is 67. He's 11 under. Andy Sullivan, a 64. Who the hell is Andy Sullivan? He's not from around here. He's from across
Son
the
of
pond.
Mr. and Miss Sullivan.
He shot a 64. He's at 10 under, along with Ryan Moore, who shot a 67. And I have to say this because I love saying the name. Hideki Matsuyama. I can't read. I need glasses. 71. He's 9 under.
Things.
Jim Furyk is 66, 9 under. Francesco Molinari is 67. He's 9 under. Brandon Todd, Justin Rose, Patrick Rogers, all at 9 under. As for others, Kevin Kisner and Jordan Spieth, they're at 6 under, a 70 for Spieth. Matt Kuchar's at 5 under, along with Jonathan Bird. Good showing for him. Lucas Glover's at 4 under, along with Phil Mickelson, 68 for lefty. Bill McGirt, 4 under. Bill Moss, 3 under. Dustin Johnson, the cut was 1 under. Dustin Johnson makes the cut at 1 under. Tiger Woods with a 70 makes the cut at 1. Ricky Fowler misses the cut at even par, as did Scott Brown. Ben Martin at 2 over. Ernie Els at +5. Russell Henley at 8 over. And Sam Saunders, an 80 today at 12 over. They all missed the cut. I missed the super regionals. When will we get back into the super regional business here in our state? I'm watching Florida and Florida State. Huge crowd, people standing up everywhere. When will we get back to the super regionals? Will South Carolina be in a super regional next year?
Don't know.
That's not the purpose of this show. The purpose of this show is to give definite answers. I'll ask the question again. I'll turn to someone who'll give me an answer. Will South Carolina be in a super regional next year?
No.
There's your answer.
Why do you say that? They got some good JUCOs coming in. They're going to revamp some things.
If you had to ask me now, I'd say no. I think they'll be back in the postseason next year. And yeah, we got to see what happens with the draft. It's really hard to answer that question when you know nothing about what their team's going to be by and large. I mean, is Max Schrock going to come back? That would be big.
Pitching.
With Jack Weincoop, I don't expect Weincoop or Schrock to be back.
Will Monty Lee get Clemson to a super regional next year?
You mean if he gets College of Charleston to super regional? No,
who's going to be the new coach at College of Charleston?
We don't know if the College of Charleston coach.
I mean, why wouldn't you just go hire Monty Lee if you're Dan Radakovich?
Because Monty Lee may know some people that say, "Well, you're working for Dan, and I'm in a good place where I am."
I think Monty would. I don't know this. I think he would jump at the opportunity. Come on, Clemson, College of Charleston, facilities, support, money.
Phil, I want to know if I'm comfortable with working with the guy I got to work under. And if I'm not, and I'm in a good place where I am, I'm telling you.
K-Mac, he's gone Monday, Tuesday. Congratulations again, Sportscaster of the Year. You'll be honored on Monday night. You got your speech ready. They require a 5-minute speech from each of the winners.
Oh, I've got 10 ready.
Just don't drop it.
The ceremony takes
have to play the music.
4 hours.
Yeah, awesome.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Enjoy yourself. Thank you, Larkin Belton. You did a great job in place of Steak Man. He's fired. You're hired. See you Monday.